Have you ever felt paralyzed by fear? Afraid to take risks, speak up, or truly live life to the fullest? If so, you're not alone. Fear cripples most people, holding them back from their grandest ambitions and deepest desires. But there is a solution, a mindset that will obliterate fear from controlling your life. It's called Stoicism, and by mastering it, you'll become absolutely fearless. You see, the truth is that 90% of people are irrational cowards, slaves to their emotions and external circumstances. Meanwhile, the elite 10% live by Stoic philosophy, rational, self-disciplined, and impervious to the fears that shackle the masses. They understand that fear is simply an irrational mirage created by a delusional mind. These Stoic individuals stand apart. They know the secrets to reprogramming their mindset to eradicate fear entirely. And by the end of this, you too will learn exactly how to apply Stoicism and become one of the rare, truly fearless humans on this planet. We will explore 8 fundamental Stoic principles for conquering fear in all its forms. Absorb these lessons, and you will cultivate an invincible mentality that cannot be deterred by any fears, whether of failure, rejection, loss, or even death itself. Principle 1. Detachment from outcomes. Most people's fears stem from their desperate attachment to specific outcomes. They fear failure because they are obsessively attached to succeeding. They fear rejection because they are addicted to acceptance. A Stoic has no such unhealthy attachments. You see, outcomes are never fully within your control. Concentrate solely on what you can influence, your own actions and effort. Put forth your fullest force of will, then detach completely from whatever emerges. This simple shift in mindset dissolves all fears, because you no longer irrationally crave particular results. Stoics welcome any outcome with measured calm. To them, success or failure is irrelevant mental noise. All that matters is embodying virtues like courage, justice, self-control, and wisdom through their own purposeful actions. Everything else is external static, unworthy of fear's crippling grasp. Principle 2. Worst-case scenario. So many of our fears are rooted in avoiding worst-case scenarios that are extremely unlikely to unfold. Yet the untrained, delusional mind obsesses over these distant possibilities until they consume us with dread. Stoics confront this tendency by visualizing the worst cases head-on in detail. Once those scenarios are vividly imagined, they appear far less daunting and terrifying than the shadows they occupied in our minds. With its veil lifted, the worst no longer seems so unacceptable after all. When you stop fearing the worst, you become liberated to fully commit to your endeavors without hesitation. No potential downside can shake you. After embracing this Stoic tactic, what was your worst fear becomes merely a mild, acceptable inconvenience that loses all power over you. Principle 3. Personal rebirth. One of the biggest underlying fears is that of change itself. Whether adjusting to new life circumstances or evolving on a personal level, the process of change tends to spark trepidation and resistance. Yet change is the only constant in existence. Without it, there is no growth, no progress. The Stoic is never bound to any rigid, fearful attachment to remaining the same. They understand that with each passing day, they are reborn anew with the chance to continually reinvent themselves. This knowledge eliminates fear of change and instead reframes it as an ever-flowing process of perpetual rebirth and self-actualization. By embracing this mindset of constant personal evolution, you become liberated from the shackles of your former self's fears, habits, and limitations. Each day provides a fresh slate for new growth and development. The Stoic warrior welcomes this ceaseless rebirth without resistance or fear of what's next. Principle 4. Here and now. How often are you gripped by fears about the future or lingering anxieties about the past? For most, the majority of fears are centered on events that do not exist in the present moment. This is the root cause of much needless suffering. The enlightened Stoic knows that the present moment is all that exists, the past is indelible, and the future is unwritten fiction. By anchoring themselves in the here and now through meditative presence, they untether from the vortex of imagined past and future fears. When you dwell in the stillness of now with full acceptance, no fear can infiltrate your inner calm. It is only when you escape the tangible present into your mind's phantom realms that terror takes hold. Reclaim your mastery over the present moment and leave fear no footing upon which to manifest. Principle 5. Internalized ethics. At the core, most fears spawn from making unwise, unethical choices that jeopardize our well-being and values. Whether it's cheating or stealing out of desperation, taking undue physical risks, or succumbing to impulsive vices, poor ethical judgment is the seed that blooms into fear's grip over our psyche. Stoics obliterate this internal source of fear by developing a steadfast, internalized ethical code that eliminates any potential for regretful actions or dangerous compromises. Through constant self-reflection and philosophical study, they cultivate an unwavering grasp on their deepest values and moral decision-making. With a flawlessly integrated ethics system governing their conduct, Stoics never need fear the consequences of misguided deeds. Their impeccable personal integrity is an impenetrable force field, protecting them from fears stemming from guilt, recklessness, or unrestrained appetites. Anchored by these bulwarks of wisdom and character, fear simply cannot take root. Principle 6. Acceptance of mortality. Underneath all fears lurks the most primal fear, that of our inescapable death. No matter their external accomplishments, most people remain unconsciously terrified of this eventuality on a profound level. This terror permeates their psyche and existence like a paralyzing undercurrent. Stoics blast through this toxic undercurrent by directly staring down death without flinching. They do not delude themselves with denials of mortality, but rather strive to accept its inevitability with peaceful recognition. Once death is internalized as a natural and impartial process that all must transition through, the Stoic is free to live their life fully without subconscious constraints. A mindset of, "I walk each day in life's cemetery," allows one to remain detached and unafraid amid external impermanence. This realization is the ultimate weapon to annihilate fear's grip. Principle 7. Objectivity over emotion. For most people, fear is an overwhelming emotional state that dominates their instincts and decision-making. This is the default conditioning of the irrational human mind, to subjectively experience reality through a warped lens of distorting feelings. The Stoic way shatters this delusional way of being. By cultivating supreme objectivity and rationality, the individual rises above the clouded emotional narratives that spawn fear. From this higher vantage, all is seen clearly as it is without judgment or mental distortion. When you encounter the world through an unclouded state of objectivity, fear has nowhere to take root. Every situation is received and assessed with pure logic and reason, eliminating the blind spots sowed by volatile emotions. It is only when you're trapped in an irrational, subjective perspective that the delusions of fear can take over. True objectivity renders you utterly fearless. Principle 8. Cosmic perspective. Fear is often predicated on an irrational sense of self-importance, where our immediate predicaments take on exaggerated significance fueled by ego. Stoics annihilate this delusional thinking by zooming out to the biggest picture perspective possible. From this cosmic vantage point, it becomes clear that we are all infinitesimal specks amid the vastness of an indifferent universe that stretches across space and time. Our personal turmoils and fears are mere fleeting tremors in a cosmic sea of infinite happenings, great and small. With this all-encompassing frame of reference, the Stoic individual finds it humorous and vain to attach fear or excessive importance to any isolated event in their tiny role within the grand cosmic drama. From this transcendent perspective, all fear appears petty and insignificant in the grand scheme of things, a mirage never worthy of entertaining again. So now you understand the 8 core Stoic mindsets to cultivate supreme fearlessness in your existence. Study and embody these timeless principles, and you will become one of the rare individuals who has conquered the scourge of fear entirely. You will go forth undaunted, free to harness your full potential and live with unwavering purpose, integrity, and ambition. No more will you be shackled by those irrational emotional chains that bind the cowering masses to their self-imposed prisons of doubt, hesitation, and regret. While they remain mired in delusions, you will rise above as the embodiment of Stoic freedom and fortitude. Just envision it, no longer faltering or cringing in the face of any challenge, obstacle, or risk. Every situation, no matter how daunting it may appear, will be approached with a mind cleansed of fear's distortions. You'll take bold action without flinching, owing to your unshakable objectivity and acceptance of all potential outcomes. Whether pursuing an audacious vision, speaking fundamental truths, or making difficult ethical stands, you will embody perfect calm. No external resistance or societal reproach will trigger even a shred of fear's crippling poison. Like a great oak withstanding hurricanes, you'll stand resolute and unwavering. In your relationships and most vulnerable moments, you'll interact with people from a centering of total integrity. No fears of rejection, loss, or judgment will encroach, because your sense of self-worth stems strictly from your internal values, not others' skewed perceptions. With a spirit fortified by the knowledge that this bodily existence is only temporary, you'll shed all attachments to material concerns. Possessions, status, ailments, these all become wisps in the wind, unable to trigger anxiety or dread. Your sole imperative is virtuous conduct aligned with cosmic principles. Can you feel that seeming weight being lifted from your mind and soul? The suffocating paranoia of perceived threats and worst cases that once tormented you is now evaporating like a mere illusion. In its place is a profound inner calm and centeredness that fear cannot penetrate or corrupt. This is the clarity and invincible presence to embrace as a Stoic warrior. No longer will you betray your highest values or retreat from your grandest ambitions due to fear's nagging whispers. With the strength of rational virtue as your unshakable foundation, you'll move through this world in perfect ethical alignment, undistracted by the fear-based distractions that ensnare others. While the unconscious masses stumble about entranced by fearful delusions, you'll remain crystal clear in your purpose and decision-making. No amount of intimidation, setbacks, or uncertainty will throw you off course because you've severed the roots that allow fear to germinate. From this awakened state of transcendent stoicism, the gravity of your words and actions will carry the weight of someone utterly free of fear's enfeebling grip. You'll attract the highest quality relationships, pursuits, and positive impact, not due to empty bravado, but from an energy of authenticity that can only arise from one who has vanquished all self-created mental prisons. This path is not for the feeble-willed, however. Mastering Stoic fearlessness requires intensive self-discipline, philosophical study, and brutally honest self-examination. It's an elite way of being reserved for the most committed and resilient individuals ready to shed their former delusions and cowardice. The choice is yours. Remain shackled to your fear-based conditioning that's holding you captive, or cultivate the supreme strength, wisdom, and mental fortitude to elevate yourself into the liberated stratosphere of Stoic mastery, where fears no longer exist. For those intrepid few who earnestly commit themselves to these timeless Stoic principles, the riches and depth of inner realization are incomparable. While the masses remain trapped in cycles of panic, doubt, and self-sabotage, you ascend into the serene domain of the truly fearless and unconquerable. If you have made it this far, comment down below with the word 100% to confirm that you have received the knowledge from this video. For more interesting topics, make sure you watch the recommended video that you see on the screen right now. Thanks for watching.